Imagine for a moment, what if we're living in the final phase of a divine calendar, one so precise it maps out thousands of years, with every major event in history aligning meticulously to the ultimate plan of God. This remarkable calendar, known as the Divine Calendar, is laid out in the Book of Jubilees, a text that was excluded from most traditional Bibles, but has been preserved within the Ethiopian Orthodox canon. Few are even aware of its existence, let alone the secrets it holds about humanity's past, present, and future within God's prophetic design. If you're new to the Book of Jubilees or feel compelled to delve deeper, make sure to explore our linked videos below to uncover more about this mysterious text. Today, we're diving into the implications of this divine calendar, examining how it operates, when it began, the structure it uses to measure time, and why it stands apart from any other calendar system humanity has known. We'll look at how the Book of Jubilees introduces the concept of a reset within these cycles and explore key prophecies that align with it. And finally, we'll address the most pressing question. If this timeline is accurate, what actions should Christians take to prepare for what lies ahead? Let's begin by gaining an understanding of what the divine calendar actually is and how it operates. To fully grasp its design, we need to explore the structure of the calendar, beginning with its smallest units and expanding out to its largest cycles. The divine calendar follows a rhythm that God set from the very beginning, a pattern of work and rest embedded into every aspect of time, from the weekly Sabbath to the larger prophetic cycles of the Jubilee years. Unlike the Gregorian calendar, which merely counts days, weeks, and years, the divine calendar aligns with God's overarching plan for redemption. The starting point of the divine calendar can be traced back to the creation narrative. According to the Book of Genesis, God created the heavens, the earth, and all living things within 6 days. On the 7th day, he rested, designating it as holy and establishing the Sabbath as a sacred day of rest. This foundational pattern of 6 days of work, followed by a day of rest, formed the basis of the 7-day week, a structure that has endured through time and across cultures. But this 7-day week is more than just a way to measure time. It embodies a divine rhythm that mirrors God's actions in creation. Each Sabbath is a reminder to humanity that rest is sacred, that creation is meant to pause, reflect, and honor the work of God. This principle of rest not only echoes throughout the divine calendar, but also scales up to much larger cycles, such as the Sabbatical years and the Jubilee cycles. The divine calendar incorporates multiple layers of time, each built upon the notion of rest, reflection, and renewal. In this calendar, every 7th year is known as a sabbatical year, or Shemitah year, during which the land and the people are commanded to rest. According to the book of Leviticus, every 7th year the land should lie fallow, debts should be released, and slaves should be freed. This Shemitah year is a time of rest not only for the people, but also for the earth itself, reminding the Israelites that everything ultimately belongs to God. By allowing the land to rest, the Israelites acknowledge that it is not by their labor alone that they are sustained, but by God's provision. These 7-year cycles build towards something much larger. Just as the Sabbath is a holy day of rest, and the 7th year is a holy year of release, these cycles of rest and forgiveness accumulate to the concept of the Jubilee cycle. The divine calendar operates on a larger 49-year cycle known as the Jubilee. Every 49 years, following 7 cycles of 7 sabbatical years, a special 50th year is declared, the year of Jubilee. This year is a profound moment of reset for the people, the land, and society as a whole. In the Jubilee year, debts are completely forgiven. Land is returned to its original families, and those who are enslaved are set free. This 50th year represents complete liberation and renewal, symbolizing God's desire to restore all things to their rightful state. In the structure of the divine calendar, each level serves a specific purpose. The weekly Sabbath reminds people to rest and honor the work of God in creation. The Sabbatical year calls for release and forgiveness, emphasizing justice and mercy towards others and the land. Finally, the Jubilee year is a symbol of total redemption, a prophetic picture of a future time when all debts, both physical and spiritual, will be forgiven, and humanity will be fully restored to its intended state of harmony with God. The Book of Jubilees builds on this structure, applying it to the entirety of creation's history. By framing time itself within these cycles, the Book of Jubilees reveals a sacred order to history that aligns humanity with God's redemptive purposes. Each Jubilee moves humanity closer to the ultimate plan of God, making time itself a sacred journey. The Book of Genesis offers a genealogical timeline to track key events and mark time from the creation of the world. In contrast, the Book of Jubilees provides a prophetic framework that weaves the purposes of God into each Jubilee cycle. According to this divine structure, time is not merely a series of passing moments, but a progression toward God's ultimate plan for creation. The Jubilee cycles, therefore, carry a prophetic weight, each one marking a step toward humanity's final restoration. The story of the Great Flood is one of the most dramatic resets in biblical history, a clear example of a divine intervention meant to cleanse and renew. According to Genesis, God observed the earth and saw that it was filled with violence and corruption, prompting his decision to flood the earth, sparing only Noah, his family, and a selection of animals. This event represents a physical and spiritual reset for humanity, a chance to realign with God's purposes. Viewing this event through the lens of the divine calendar, we see an interesting divergence between the Genesis and Jubilees timelines. According to Genesis, the flood occurred around 1,656 years after creation, placing it in approximately the 34th Jubilee cycle. The Book of Jubilees, however, suggests that the flood took place in the 5th or 6th Jubilee cycle, far earlier in the human timeline. This difference in timing reflects two approaches to understanding the timing of divine intervention. The Genesis account presents a timeline where moral decay builds gradually over more than 30 Jubilee cycles, indicating God's patience as humanity drifted further away from him. In contrast, the Jubilees account compresses this history, presenting a rapid descent into corruption that necessitated an early judgment. Both perspectives highlight the flood as a divine reset, a Jubilee-like event providing humanity with a fresh beginning. After the flood, God established a covenant with Noah, symbolized by the rainbow, promising never to destroy the earth by flood again. This covenant with Noah represents both judgment and mercy, encapsulating the recurring themes of the Jubilee cycle. Each Jubilee represents an opportunity for renewal, and the flood serves as an early example of God's commitment to righteousness and justice. Foreshadowing the final judgment and ultimate restoration pointed to within the divine calendar. The covenant with Abraham marks one of the most significant reset points within the divine calendar, as God establishes a chosen lineage through which his promises will unfold. According to the Genesis genealogies, this covenant takes place roughly 1,250 years after creation, placing it around the 25th Jubilee cycle. This midpoint in the divine timeline reflects a critical moment of divine redirection. Humanity had spread across the earth, yet continued to struggle with sin and idolatry. By choosing Abraham, God initiates a unique relationship with a family line that will ultimately bring redemption. The Book of Jubilees compresses this early human history, placing significant events such as the covenant with Abraham at what appears to be an earlier point than in Genesis. However, the essence of Abraham's covenant remains pivotal in both perspectives, marking a divine selection to restore humanity through a lineage that will ultimately lead to the Messiah. This covenant, set within the structure of Jubilee cycles in Jubilees, suggests that choosing Abraham was an urgent step to realign humanity with God's purposes. Regardless of the exact timing, both the Genesis and Jubilees texts emphasize that Abraham's covenant represents a profound new beginning for humanity. Through promises of land, blessing, and descendants, God establishes a foundation for a future nation dedicated to his laws and promises, a nation through which the messianic promise would ultimately be fulfilled. The Jubilee cycle emphasizes renewal, and Abraham's covenant foreshadows a future, greater Jubilee, where all nations will experience the redemption promised through Abraham's lineage. One of the most powerful events in the divine calendar aligns with the 50th Jubilee cycle, the Exodus. This pivotal event represents a profound liberation as God leads the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and into freedom. The story of the Exodus is a living illustration of Jubilee principles: freedom from oppression, return to one's inheritance, and the establishment of justice under God's law. The timing of this event within the 50th Jubilee cycle is loaded with prophetic significance, symbolizing a national reset and the beginning of a covenantal relationship between Israel and God. Just as each Jubilee year involves release from debts and return to family lands, the Exodus represents a complete liberation for an entire nation. This moment, embedded within the divine calendar, underscores the Jubilee principle not only as personal, but as societal and national, affecting the people's collective relationship with God. After the Exodus, God gave the Israelites the law at Mount Sinai, including specific instructions for observing the Sabbath, Sabbatical years, and Jubilee cycles. The 10 Commandments and the laws given in Leviticus provide a blueprint for justice, mercy, and holiness, structuring the nation's social and economic relationships around the principles of the divine calendar. In Leviticus, God commands the Israelites to observe the Jubilee every 50 years, where land is returned to its original owners, debts are forgiven, and slaves are freed. This framework is designed to prevent generational poverty and ensure that each family retains their inheritance. It is a legal and economic reset, reinforcing the idea that the land belongs to God. By embedding these principles within the law, God intended Israel to be a living example of his justice and mercy. The 80th Jubilee cycle marks the arrival of Jesus Christ, a moment of profound significance that fulfills centuries of prophecy and manifests the ultimate spirit of Jubilee. Jesus' life, ministry, death, and resurrection embody the themes of forgiveness, freedom, and restoration that are central to the Jubilee cycle. The 80th Jubilee is a cosmic reset, offering humanity a path to reconciliation with God. Throughout his ministry, Jesus declared the message of Jubilee, proclaiming good news to the poor, binding up the brokenhearted, and setting captives free. When Jesus reads from the book of Isaiah, he declares, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." In doing so, he identifies himself as the fulfillment of the Jubilee prophecy, marking the arrival of a new era where spiritual freedom and restoration are accessible to all. Jesus' miracles, healing the sick, restoring sight to the blind, casting out demons, and raising the dead, aren't simply acts of compassion. They are signs of the kingdom, previews of the final Jubilee. His teachings emphasize forgiveness, urging followers to forgive others as they have been forgiven, echoing the Jubilee's theme of debt release. At the heart of Jesus' mission is his role as the sacrificial lamb, whose death on the cross represents the ultimate debt release. Just as debts are forgiven in the Jubilee year, Jesus' death and resurrection offer freedom from the spiritual debt of sin. His resurrection is a promise of the final Jubilee, a foreshadowing of the new creation that will come in the end times. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed exploring the mysteries of the divine calendar, don't forget to leave a comment with your thoughts below. Hit the like button To support the channel, share this video with friends to spread the knowledge, and make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our future videos on fascinating topics like this one. Thanks, and see you in the next video.